Alright folks, welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. This is going to be the second part of our videos on the Lakeside Tattooz. And so these are commonly harvested from different issues and then put into copies of the Amazing Spiderman number 238. And so the first video showed how you can remove these from donor issues. And then this video is going to be on how I put that into a copy of the Amazing Spider-Man 238. Now, the issue in this video already did come back from CGC twice, and you can see the CGC unboxing videos on the channel do that. The first time it did come back with a higher grade, but it was married or noted as married tattoo, and it got a green label. The second time it got a blue label, and that's because I don't really think you can tell the difference very well if you do this right. The number one thing you do not want to do is punch new staple holes in there. So, you know, these already have holes from the first issue, and you got to make sure that the staple goes through those holes, because if you put second set of holes in there, dead giveaway. And so I posted that on my Instagram. I know that this is a contentious process among some collectors, but in my opinion, I'm not really defrauding anybody or making it out to be anything else. If you open up that issue, you do get a tattoo packet, and you know, CGC can't tell the difference either, because I've done several dozen of these, and all but one of them came back with a blue label, at least if not on the first, but on the second attempt. So the overwhelming majority are blue label the first time, and nobody can be the wiser. So, you know, that's at least where I sit with it. Don't get too worked up, don't get too upset about it. Just enjoy the Amazing Spider-Man 238 for what it is, which is an awesome first appearance of a classic villain. And if you watch the Spider-Man cartoon in the early 90s, Hobgoblin is voiced by none other than Mark Hamill, which after you hear it, you can't get the Joker's voice out of your head. So anyway, here's the how-to video. It ends happily, but you have to check out the other unboxing videos for that. Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to Top Comics Pressing. In this video, what I'm going to do is marry a set of Lakeside Tattooz to this copy of the Amazing Spider-Man 238. So for those of you that don't know, for a grand total of exactly 1 month, the Marvel Comics decided it was a good idea to put this tattoo insert inside of a whole bunch of issues that all came out. And the most popular and most famous of those is Amazing Spider-Man 238, because it happens to be the first appearance of the Hobgoblin, who, fun fact, was voiced by Mark Hamill in the Amazing Spider-Man animated series from the 90s. So who doesn't love that? But every time I hear that cartoon, all I can hear is the Joker, and that would be a Marvel DC mashup, and it throws me off. Anyway, so this is what these tattoo inserts look like. It's literally just a little pouch here that has a tattoo in it, and right here's the tattoo, so you can see the backside there. You know, some of them, I think that there's a whole variety of them. I've tried to figure out what the designs are. I think some of them might be like an apple, some of them might be a spider. They're really hard to see through through the pouch, but if you take a light, you can kind of see it through that way. So you can definitely see that there's a tattoo in there, and I've tried to figure out what the designs on some of them are, but anyway, that's kind of how it goes. So, you know, I have a small stack of these that I've harvested from other issues. The most common issue I harvest from is Fantastic Four, I believe 252. It's the sideways John Byrne cover. That's by far and away the most common that I find with it. So the first thing we're going to want to do is remove this staple. And so to do that, what I'm going to do is open it up to the centerfold. Oh, before you do that, by the way, you know, if there is really, really obvious staple damage, you're not going to be able to get away with it. So if it's clear that somebody had, you know, ripped the cover off in a big chunk there, they obviously would have taken the tattoos with them. This one looks like a good candidate to me. The staple is really nice and on the side, which is going to be a big help. It's super obnoxious if it's kind of turned to you know, either the front or the back corner, and it doesn't I mean, it shows a little bit of staple tearing, but that's like pretty standard, and so I think that that'll be okay. By the way, there's debate in the community that if all of these were actually manufactured with a staple or not, or sorry, a tattoo packet or not. Some people say that every single one of them must have had that tattoo. Other people swear that they did not. I wasn't around then. Anyway, so here's the staple, and we can, you know, take a peek at that. This one hopefully will be pretty easy to pop out. The top prong there already has a pretty big gap under it, and that'll actually be convenient, because if there's a big gouge where that staple pushed into the paper, that makes it a lot more problematic, because you have to line up that gouge. In this case, I don't see either of those. And so what I use for this is two tools here. I have a set of tweezers that I got from a drugstore, nothing special about them. I do like that there is a seam up top here that I can use as kind of a pushing point. And then I use a little itty bitty flathead that I believe is from an eyeglass repair kit that I happened to find in the house when I was starting to do this. So nothing too crazy. And what I'm going to do is just get that screwdriver kind of under that prong. And in this particular case, I think that this one I can actually just lift up all on my own. Nothing too crazy here. And I'm going to push down with the screwdriver and then pull up. In this case, just with my fingernail, actually. That one will pop up nice and straight. And what you want to do is make sure that you are unbending it straight. What you do not want to do is torque it sideways. That causes a lot of problems. So just straight out is the way to go there. And that one came out real nice. And you want to put minimal stress on the hole. And so that's kind of the reason that I've got the screwdriver there, is to kind of be the pressure point so that I'm not stressing out the hole at all. And you don't need to bend them back horribly far. It's actually a little bit better sometimes if they're not. And that one is slightly torqued, so I'm just going to torque it right back while I'm there. And you know, you can see that they're not perfectly unpronged. That'll be okay. That just means when we want to insert it, we're going to want to insert the one on the bottom first, because that's the one that's got a little bit of a bend. So once we're here, I'm going to flip it on over, and I'm just going to gently push from the inside on those lifted out prongs. And when I do that, I'm going to unfish hook it here and then just kind of slide that out sideways. Now the bent side was down and I took careful note of that. And so I'm going to put that like so on my desk. And we're just going to lay this comic open for the time being. All right, so now we have a staple here, and I'm going to, you can see it's got ever so slight of a kink to it. So I'm just going to unkink that as best I can. And then, you know, what I'm going to try to do here is line up those holes as best I can with one of my piles of tattoos here. And you can see that this one has the holes slightly forward. So we're going to see if we can find one where it's pretty far on the side. This one's pretty perfect on the side. And I'm going to check that out in the hole there. That hole's a little bit tight. Let me just hold these up. This one might be good candidate there. Yeah, I think that one could work. Yeah, really any of these I think that are left in here should be all right. Nothing too crazy with them. Go. Yep, I think we're going to go with this one right here. And I'm just going to try to twist that a little bit. So I think if we get that all lined in there, that should be a-okay. So nothing too crazy there. What you do not want to do is generate a second set of holes. So let's just line that up right there. It's pretty close to being lined up. So, and if I check that tattoo in there, one other thing that I think people get incorrect is these tattoos were not necessarily flush with the top of the comic, but I think that one will be pretty good. Just double check here. Yeah, that one will be pretty solid. See one right there. All right, cool. So now we got it. Got my prong down there. Still a little unsatisfied with how twisted this staple kind of got, but that's okay. Looks pretty good overall. Okay, so we got our winner. Put all these away just so I don't get it mixed up. So now's the delicate part, and I like to stand it vertically and just kind of slide this along the cover. And if this doesn't work well, we can go in from the inside, but typically, there we go, it just slides right around, no big deal there. And then what I'm going to do is look along that original staple for hopefully being able to see the staple holes kind of float on by. So I just watched it go past the top and then right there. And if we look, we can see that those staple holes now do indeed line up. And so I'm going to try to hold that with my finger on the interior. And then we're going to try to put this staple in there, again starting with that bottom one that was a little bit crooked and a little bit angled. I seem to have had it shift just a smidge. There we go. That's my spot. There we go. Now I can feel it on the inside, which is pretty important. Whoop. I can feel it on the inside of the cover, not on the inside of the comic. Try that one more time. Definitely do not want to use any pressure or force because you're just going to make a big hole and that's going to be a huge tell. So it's definitely a delicate game to wiggle that staple on in there. And if it is refusing to go all the way through, which it does look like it is, there it goes. So now we have it all the way through the middle. Just takes a little bit of super gentle wiggling, and now we're going to push it right through the top. And typically once you get one lined up, the second one goes in no problem. Here we go. Ta-da! Those are both through. And so once we got that, now what we're going to do is put my screwdriver down again. I'm just going to try to gently push that staple right back down where it was. Now we're going to use the flat part of the tweezers, and I'm just going to apply some pressure right on the tip of that staple to try to fold it nice and flat. I'm using nice blunt tipped object on purpose so that I don't leave a scratch in the paper. Get the screwdriver flat to the other prong. This one was not flat, so we're going to want to make sure we try to keep it not flat. There we go. Looks pretty good on the inside. Pretty good on the outside. And then let's just check it on the insert here. So that staple clearly goes through nice and clean, no extra holes. No extra holes there. Insert fits nice and on the inside. So that should indeed be a married tattoo insert, and hopefully it'll be one that goes undetected by the graders. I've done this several dozen times and I've only been flagged for it once, so fingers crossed this time is not the exception.